What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
Going well, Ben. What is it again? Oh yeah, Motor Monday.
Monday.
We're back at it here on Grid Encore, and glad to have you along for another week that is the world of motorsport. And Ben, good to see you in the office.
Yeah, back in the office here once again. Apologies for a bit of a delayed start here. We had some technical difficulties going on, but we've got those resolved now, we hope, and we'll go ahead and jump right into it here. But before we do that, as always, want to start the show by thanking our Patreon supporters, Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for continuing to invest in what we do here at the Grid Network. And if you like what you see this evening, you can consider joining them by clicking on the link in the description box below, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution, there we go. There's the leaderboard to us instead through Buy Me a Coffee or YouTube Super Chat. If you're watching us live here, we would greatly appreciate it as well. Any amount helps us continue to build this project, what we're trying to do here at the Grid Network. Brandon, before we jump into the Xfinity Trucks race and ARCA East and Indy NXT back as well, since neither of us are on wrap up these days, I understand you wanted to chime in a little bit on the Cup Series race winner, an article that appeared in The Athletic by Jeff Gluck here. So we'll start off with a little bit of an open segment here. What was your reaction to Joey Logano? I guess you can never count him out when you least expect him. He pops right back up in victory lane in the Cup Series for the 37th time yesterday. What was your reaction?
Yeah, that he does. That was, again, by Texas. I know we probably don't want to speak too much of it back and forth, but as far as Texas races go, that was kind of okay for, I guess you could say, for the first 2/3 of it. You look at the Gluck poll, it's pretty neck and neck at the moment, and there's an awful lot there on the positive side, at least from what some people think. But all the cautions just falling at the end of it. And Michael McDowell apparently has a pattern, I guess, of making a sort of a defensive move and then wrecking immediately after. I saw some post of that, or of some other instances where that's happened for some odd reason or the other. But anyway, going down towards the apron as far down as he could into 3, hoping that Logano wouldn't dare to go that far down on a restart. Well, he would dare, and he did. And he took the coveted position, and then you got another yellow. He come to the restart, and him and Blaney, his teammate Ryan Blaney, are pretty dead even for that final restart. But Logano able to get the edge, and after that, there's just not enough laps to get around the 22. And so the man that started 22nd for the day ends up winning the race, and in 3 to 4 months' time, and give or take, he will have his spot reserved in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And so that is the rules. That's how it works. But Jeff Gluck putting in The Athletic, following the social media trend, Joey Logano has the potential to pull off the funniest thing of all time. And he admitted that he is the one that irks so many NASCAR fans. But he has the potential to, again, by like the most laughable circumstances, is able to get. I think his spotter, is it Coleman Presley?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he said something in so many words over the radio of like, you're the guy I want in this sort of situation. If someone's going to luck out on the very end, you're the one to do it, because we've seen that. Like, when it comes to these high pressure scenarios, give Joey the wheel, and he'll do it. The popular opinion may be that we don't like it, but and that may not be what opinion you, the viewer, share. But you can't deny whatever this concoction of the NASCAR playoffs is and punching your ticket. He has figured this out and has got it down to a science. And even when he doesn't, life gives him lemons, he makes lemonade out of the lemons. And it's just, at this point, you can either hate it or you can just laugh along with it and just, how far is he going to go? Like, I mean, it's like the every other year sort of pattern, and then he may not get it in 2025, but it's funny to watch, and I think it is the funniest thing of all. It could possibly be the funniest thing of all time. I know we don't have too much to say about it today, but as we are on Encore, not the main show.
Yeah, well, I'll chime in a little bit here. It was Coleman Presley. The quote is, "Everyone wants Joey in the car in this situation." That was with 5 to go as he was fighting Michael McDowell. And I think you said it was actually he's in car number 22. He started 27th, so even 5 spots
even
lower
better
than that. But yeah, led 2 times for 7 of the 271 laps yesterday, and I don't know. I mean, they used to call Kevin Harvick, who's in the booth now, they used to call him Mr. Where Did He Come From, or the closer.
The closer, yeah. There's your new closer.
Yeah, I don't know. They might have to start calling Joey Logano that here. But, again, I'm reminded of, I think Dale Jr. mentioned this on his show this week, just, wanting, how do you make the regular season matter? Well, it doesn't feel like the regular season really matters too much for Joey anymore, or for anybody that's won a race so far this year, to be fair. And again, people. I will say this. I respect that Joey didn't, unless I missed something, he didn't seem too mad, because it was a very aggressive block all the way down, almost the inside wall below the apron that McDowell put on him. Which, Logano's been known to throw an aggressive block a time or two. So I would have been significantly more annoyed if he had more vocally complained about how he was raced, because I think, if you're going to dish it out, that's fine, but you have to be able to take it when it's done to you as well. And to his credit, he just sent it right down in there and took the lead, really never looked back from there. But yeah, I do have to admit, and I know, I think Steven Stumpf brought this up in the post-race press conference. He passed Brad Keselowski on the all-time wins list, his longtime teammate over at Penske, but it does feel a little bit weird having him in the same conversation as the Darrell Waltrips of the world, and I'm trying to think who else has exactly Tony Stewart, 3 Cup championships exactly to their name. Putting Cale Yarborough, putting him in that conversation with those legends of the sport, and I know it's tough to compare different eras, but again, I'm not knocking the guy for defending a system that he's been so successful in. It was more just the comments of like, who in their right mind wants to go back. That I took a little bit of an exception to, because I think there is a vocal part of the fan base that prefers a full season format, and there's a reason why NASCAR did it for so long, and why so many series around the world continue to do it. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it, and I do think it is the best method for determining who is the best over the course of a season. Obviously, that's not what we do anymore. It's all about manipulating the system to your advantage and getting hot at the right time, and Joey has been a master at that 3 times now, and that's why he's got 3 championships in an era that he might not otherwise have them. But more power to him for working it to his advantage there. And I don't know, it's not an even year, so he's not supposed to make the Final Four, but he's taken that first step. He's locked in now. There was no disqualification like he had last week at Talladega. Obviously, he and Ryan Preece didn't win that one, so maybe it didn't get as much attention as it would have had the winner been the one that was disqualified. But Penske seems like they're turning a corner right now. Blaney finishing 3rd, and Cindric obviously getting the Talladega win. Going to be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum, or maybe they're peaking too early. But nonetheless, certainly not a very popular win among certain portions of the fan base here. I think a lot of people would have loved to see Inspire and Michael McDowell get the job done there. But it is what it is nonetheless. And, we'll see if Joey can. Yeah, I got to agree with Jeff Gluck there. It would be pretty amusing in some ways if he does win a championship once again through the most Joey Logano way ever here. But again, that's the era that we live in now, and that's what you have to do.
And I believe outside of the duels, this would be the first. Cindric kind of broke that, so never mind. I was going to say the first for Team Penske outside of the satellite car of Josh Berry, but Austin Cindric already took care of that last Sunday at Talladega, so scratch that. But
on a non-super speedway track, it's been a while,
right? So, yeah. But mainly this year, it's been the Joe Gibbs and Hendrick Motorsports parade, and especially with Christopher Bell there with those 3 in a row back in February into March. But yeah, starting to see some of the blue oval action going on, and Penske back to back too.
Yeah, now just real quick before we move into the series we normally cover, Eric Jones, great run for Legacy. Ross Chastain second, Daniel Suarez 10th, 2 Trackhouse cars up there in the top 10, and actually 2 Legacy cars in the top 10 as well, because Nemechek was up there in 8th. Ricky Stenhouse there, 6th for almost said JTG. You can tell we don't cover this series on a weekly basis anymore. The Hayek team now that they are, number 47 crew there. Good run for them. And Austin Dillon as well, top 10. Again, say what you will about Austin. He does seem to be able to get you a top 10 every once in a while. A good run for him. And his brother Ty as well. AJ Allmendinger, I think, was running well until he got caught up in the incident. But I think Colleague looks like they're starting to turn a corner a little bit. Good run for him. I know there was that awkwardly timed caution that kind of shuffled the order a little bit, but good runs for a lot of drivers and teams that frankly needed them. And that's good to see for parity in the sport. Let's move on now to the Xfinity Series. And again, not too much to say about the driver that pulled into victory lane here. Didn't even think he was going to be in this race until earlier this week. And first and foremost, I would like to apologize after last week's show. I thought that Connor Zilisch was okay. And relatively speaking, of course, he is. And we're very thankful that it was not worse. But he was not well enough to drive this weekend. He has been granted a waiver, of course, for his playoff eligibility. But unfortunately, had to pull out of this week's race here in Texas. And I would have preferred somebody else personally. You know how I feel about Cup drivers in the lower divisions. I know Grid Tonight was suggesting, maybe put SVG in there for a little bit more oval experience. I don't know how much he would have gotten out of this weekend because of how different the Cup and Xfinity cars are nowadays. But once again here, Kyle Larson, as he put it last time he was in this series, embarrassing the Xfinity Series field and picking up a win at Texas Motor Speedway. Brandon, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, or if it's just another start and win driver, as Brock Beard likes to call them.
No, I was impressed, and I'm still impressed on how easily he's able to do this and back up his hot take, and is able to embarrass the field even as a reserve, as a fill-in driver for Connor Zilisch, which I think we had good reason to believe that he was okay, but obviously not ready to get back inside the race cars. So that caveat being there, but yeah, Larson able to embarrass the field at Texas. I think if we'll get to Justin Allgaier, but I think if it hadn't been for Allgaier being taken out, I think that would have been a little bit of a different story, or at least a lot harder to do.
Yeah, well, on that note, the junior motorsports car of Justin Allgaier looked like it was the dominant car of the day there, but you see him down running in 35th. Contact with Chris Wright. A lot of people, again, starting to question what Chris is doing in this series, to be quite frank. He has not been running very well and has been at the center of controversy multiple times this year. Of course, everybody remembers Daytona and the pit lane incident. Brandon, we've had this conversation with other drivers before. Sometimes drivers move up before they're ready, to be quite frank. Looking at how Chris Wright has performed so far this year, do you think it might be time for him to consider taking a step back down to trucks, or maybe even ARCA, where he was last year with Venturini, before trying to get back into the Xfinity Series when he has a little bit more seat time under his belt?
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of contract deal or any or whatever kind of combination they have going on there with the 5 camp, but yeah, it's just been a really bad pattern for Chris, and I don't know what his background is per se, or what kind of financial backing he's bringing to the team, but it kind of feels like the poor performance we saw from Haley Deegan last year when she went to Xfinity, and I don't want that to happen to Chris. I don't want that to be, there's a reason for everyone making it to this level. I don't care how good or bad they appear to be in any given season, but I don't want to see the same thing happen to him as did Haley last year, where it's kind of the ride is just sort of relieved from you mid-season, not really of your own choosing, and then they put someone in there in your place. So it would be nice to see maybe taking a step back, or like you mentioned, going to the Craftsman Truck Series or maybe ARCA Menards and finding a good outlet there. But yeah, it's been bad from the word go, from Daytona and blaming the spotter for the pit entrance, and I mean just flying through there like it's a drag strip and taking out a car. We've just seen a consistent pattern of just either inexperience or just, I don't know, carelessness. I can't really say, but it hasn't been good, and especially for this level, it's a consistent provider of a yellow. I had a Chris right.
Yeah, well, there was one bright spot. It was a 9th place finish at Martinsville, but of course that race turned into absolute insanity at the end. So again, the running order kind of got jumbled there. Take nothing away from it. It is objectively the best run that he's had all year. But again, just looking at his stats here, sometimes you just have to call it how it is. 47 races in the Truck Series over the last 5 years or so. Never had a top 10. 28 races in Xfinity, only had one top 10. He did run ARCA last year full-time for Venturini, though, and finished 3rd in the points. Didn't win a race, but of course, as we know, as we talked about on this program, the season was really dominated by not even 2 drivers. It was really 2 entries, the 18 for Joe Gibbs and the 28 for Pinnacle. So, he had a handful of top 5s, and everybody points back to kind of his introduction into the NASCAR stock car world, one of the first races back from the pandemic break, the ARCA Menards Series West doubleheader at Utah in 2020, 2nd and 3rd in each of those 2 races. And I think kind of put him on the radars of a lot of people. But for whatever reason, once he has made that step up from ARCA into the top 3 series, or, obviously hasn't gotten into a cup seat yet. And I think there's a long way to go before those conversations are warranted, again, to be quite frank. But, just has not been able to replicate those results when he's been in an Xfinity car or a Craftsman truck. And, it's even been worse than that. It's not like he's just been riding around at the back, quietly minding his own business. He's frequently been caught up in incidents like that. And again, it's nothing personal or anything, but again, sometimes you just have to call the incident how you see it. And it's gotten to a point where, Justin Allgaier is the defending champion, going to be a championship contender again this year. At a certain point, you can't have somebody out there on the track that's got a reputation for this and little more, especially when it gets later in the in the year, and it comes time to actually decide who that champion is going to be, particularly in this format where it comes down to one race at Phoenix. Imagine if something similar happens at Phoenix. He certainly won't hear the end of it. And again, I don't want that for him. I want him to be in a good situation where he's able to thrive and have success. And it seems like, unfortunately for him and for the ARCA Motorsports team, it's not working for those 2 right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we see that sometimes with different drivers that come onto the scene. Just it's nothing personal against their talent, but you have to call it what it is sometimes. All
right, a couple comments coming in for Denver here, one of our regulars. So we'll give him a shout out here and see what they've got to say here. I saw an article in Australian racing website that there's a possible NASCAR invasion of Adelaide Supercars event with Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski being involved in races this year. Terry Wahoon is setting up the possibilities of the invasion this year and next year at the Adelaide event. Well, I think you're certainly more of a supercars expert than I am, Brandon. I won't speak for you. I don't know how closely you've kept up with the series in recent years, but I have heard rumors about Kyle Larson maybe getting involved here. I think Matt White would probably be somebody who's a little bit more in the know on that here. So maybe you can ask him in the chat on Wednesday. But it's certainly we've seen it the other way. Obviously, SVG's here now in the Cup Series full time, and we've had a couple of other one-offs, and even Marcus Ambrose all those years ago as well. So I think it's always great when anytime you have crossover between disciplines and fan bases getting introduced to a series that they might not follow as closely because the driver that they like is going over there. I think that would be great for supercars to kind of feed off of what we've been experiencing here in NASCAR with some of their stars coming over, and Australian and New Zealand fans getting introduced to the sport through SVG. If you get Kyle Larson in a supercar or any of those big names and champions of the sport, I think that can only be positive for both series, quite frankly. So we'll keep our eye on that. Of course, I'm sure if there's any developments on what Denver might be hearing or anything else that goes on. We'll be sure to cover it here in some way, shape, or form, the Grid Network. In the meantime, let's move on now to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. And again, stop me if you've heard this one before. Much like Kyle Larson winning the Xfinity race, much like all our winners this weekend, to be quite frank. Not much of a surprise here who ended up taking the win. Also, not much of a surprise who ended up finishing second when it comes down to it as well. Another runner-up finish for Daniel Hemrick. But, Brandon, I saw you pointing to your watch there. Don't worry, I saw that. It is.
I see what time it is.
It is Heim time once again here, Texas Motor Speedway. And again, kind of a race of attrition. I know we actually, apologies, Brandon. I skipped a couple of bullet points in my my outline here, so I'll go ahead and circle back to that. But obviously, there was a lot of attrition in the Cup Series race. I know Tanner Smith put this in our group chat as well. From '97 when the track opened to 2018 in the springtime, the Xfinity Series only had 2 races with at least 9 cautions. They've had 11 from the fall of 2018 through what we just had here for spring 2025. So you can see where that trend is going. I think it's not a coincidence that that's post reconfiguration. And again, we also saw some hard hits here in the truck race as well. I mean, Gio Ruggiero and Caden Honeycutt, Brandon Jones, all involved in a very frightening accident in the early stages of the race. I was driving back from a track meet in Connecticut on Friday night and thought for sure I would have to listen to the entire race on the radio, and I got to watch the last several laps live because there was ultimately a red flag there at the end. And again, just a lot of incidents, a lot of attrition, and the streak that we've been talking about came to an end. We did go into overtime, so that streak ends right as we set the record there for the Truck Series. We figured it was only a matter of time it was going to happen at some point, but all good things must come to an end, I suppose. And a little bit of controversy with the finish here as well. Raja Caruth posting this on his X account, saying sometimes it works your way, sometimes it doesn't. You see him there 3 wide shortly after a restart before the last overtime caution with Corey Heim and Ben Rhodes there in the 99 truck on the outside. Caruth looks visibly ahead at the moment of caution, but as we know, that is only used to determine the finishing results when the caution comes out on the white flag, as we found out last week, as Jeb Burton certainly found out last week, Talladega with Austin Hill. That's the only time they use the video and the photos to determine who was ahead. When it's just on a restart, it goes back to the last scoring loop, and that is what gave Corey Heim the advantage on the restart, which he ultimately turned into the win. So, Brandon, I'll give you the floor here for this question. Obviously, if you did this for every restart, it might slow down the process of determining what the running order is, and for every position, not just for lead, for every caution. Maybe it would be something that you do just within the last 10 laps if there's a late restart. But do you think that this is something maybe NASCAR should take a look at, using the technology that they have that exists that determines the winner of the races for a late caution like this? Do you think Raja Caruth has a point here?
Yeah, I think so. If you had video to look at the restarts, you would have a lot more to go back to than just one still image. But his picture there is, it's kind of like an optical illusion kind of thing, right? Like it looks like he's ahead there, which by some, it's kind of like with the situation with Jeb last week, where for one angle it looks like it's good, and then another it's not. But yeah, this one really puzzles me for sure.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I do think in this particular photo, I know it's tough, again, like with the optical illusions, like you said, Brandon, but I think the 71 is ahead here. But again, like we were saying, this isn't, this is what we would be going off of if we were trying to determine the winner of the race when it comes down to. If it was
just for the win, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes down to a restart, they show the photograph, and this was the criticism that FS1 got, which maybe, wasn't necessarily fair on their part. They're just, showing what they have,
what they're given
on the broadcast, which sometimes we criticize them for not doing that enough. So I can't really fault them for showing it here. But again, it is kind of weird that the technology exists, and yet, it's 2025 and we're still using scoring loops to determine, the running order under caution here. I think, maybe there's something to the idea that, or again, I don't know if you could put more scoring loops on the track at the very least to try to make it more accurate, or, again, if it's something that only is done in the closing laps, that you're not bogging down, a lap 40 restart, trying to figure out what the running order is, as opposed to, late in the race like this, when it matters a little bit more and there's less time left to recover from that situation if you're a driver like Raja in that scenario. But I certainly understand his frustration. But again, that's what the rules are. I saw some people, replying to his tweets saying, NASCAR's really been on a streak of robbing drivers lately. I don't think Raja Cruz got robbed here. I just think the timing of how they crossed the scoring loops didn't work out in his favor. And we saw it in the Cup race as well on Sunday. I think there was one late restart where Michael McDowell, Mike Joyce said, was 1/1000th of a second ahead at that loop. And, forget whoever he was battling there. It doesn't really matter for the context of, who was going to have the lead on that restart. It was going to be Michael, because that's what the scoring loop said. So again, it's a difficult situation for Raja to be put in there, but again, that's the way the rule is now. But I think it might be worth taking another look at it and seeing if anything can be changed in that regard to make things a little bit more accurate for the finish of these races here.
Man, if safety weren't a thing, I would just love racing back to the line, but I know we can't do that anymore. But
yeah,
and I know you get yelled at for having that sort of opinion, but I know if safety were no reality, I would love to race back to the line for finishes too, but we can't.
Yeah, and again, there's that conversation too. I mean, there was an incident that Dale Jarrett was involved in that, brought an end to that rule. And I've heard people suggest, like, maybe you bring the overtime line back and put the line on the back stretch, and if they cross that line before the caution comes out, then they can race back. But if it happens in turns 1 and 2, but again, I think that's opening a whole nother can of worms. That
the overtime line was a much worse era than what we're living in now.
It would lead to more controversy than it would solve. I think it's much like the yellow line rule, trying to solve blocks like that. Like the one that we saw in the Cup race. I know it's not in effect because it's not a super speedway, but I think it's caused more problems than it's solved. And I think we would have to be careful with trying to introduce something like that here for situations like this. But
not to mention it kind of looks silly too.
Yeah, it does. But I don't think it. I think we should be allowed to at least talk about it, and I can't blame Raja for sharing the photo that everybody saw on the broadcast anyway, and showing how close he was to maybe scoring another win here in the Truck Series. But he keeps running like he's been running. I have a feeling he'll be able to get one before the year's over here, but it's going to be hard to go through Corey Heim. I mean, again, you want to talk about kind of the reverse of what we were just talking about in the Xfinity segment here. I think Corey Heim, probably, if we're being honest, isn't in the right series either right now. He should probably be racing on Sundays. It's just a matter of finding a seat open for him.
Yeah, he needs to be making some Cup starts with Jesse Love.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, and we just found out earlier today that Jesse Love's going to be making a couple more.
Kansas.
So fire up those rumors again for who might be primed for a Cup Series seat full time next year. But again, I think Corey Heim deserves it just as much as Jesse Love does. Otherwise, I don't know. It'd be tough to catch Kyle Busch. Maybe Ron Hornaday's wins total would be in jeopardy here if he stays another even 5 years and just keeps racking off these truck wins. He's going to tally up quite a few of them for sure. But again, I think that you see it. You've seen it in his performance really each of the last 3 seasons now in that Tricon truck. I think he's ready for that step whenever he can find a home. So congratulations to him. Job well done, as we've said multiple times on this show for the last several years, like I just mentioned. And we'll see how the silly season pieces start to fall into place here. I know it's only May. There's a lot of time for things to change. But Corey Heim, I think, like I said, should be racing on Sundays in the not too distant future if that possibility is open to him. We move on now to the Nashville Fairgrounds. Again, not too much to say about this race. I think probably the most predictable top 3 ever, most predictable winner ever. No pinnacle car in the field for the ARCA Menards Series East race at Nashville Fairgrounds, which was delayed till Sunday because of the weather. But Max Reaves leading all but 3 laps, I believe, to score his second win in as many starts. Again, making each of us feel old. Brandon, kid born in the 2010s with a bright future, it would appear. Although it is still very early for him as well. We'll see how his career continues to develop. we do have to remember he is in objectively by far the best car in this series as well, with Joe Gibbs Racing backing him. And of course, his family's connections to Cookout. But good to see him off to a good start here in his young career nonetheless. And looking at fourth place there, Isaac Kitzmiller, he is actually your points leader right now in the ARCA Menards Series East, ahead of Tyler Reif and Zachary Tinkle, who was very pleased with his top 5 finish this weekend. So it is cool to see some of these names this high up on the leaderboard. I guess that might be a silver lining to some of the car count issues that you might be facing at times. It allows some of these smaller teams to have runs like this. Of course, we all know it's going to be a very tall order to catch that Gibbs car lapping all the way up to the top 5 there. But, that's just the discrepancies in how much equipment matters here in this series. But, we'll wait and see. It's going to be interesting to follow this championship battle between the top 3 right now, Kitzmiller, Reif, and Tinkle, as the series shifts to combination races. They have one more standalone East race. It's at Flat Rock in a couple of weeks' time. And then it's all combo races with Big ARCA, National ARCA from here on out, 4 more of those to finish the East season. So, again, having those ARCA regulars in the field will definitely shake up the finishing results and therefore how they impact the championship points for the East Series as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But again, congratulations to Max Reaves, and we'll keep looking forward to how this season shapes out, not just for him, but for everybody else in the East Series.
Yeah, I just want to spotlight some of the local guys here and the results. Hunter Wright, congratulations for finishing on the highest of, the rest, behind Tyler Reif and Max Reaves. He's been following his career for a long time here locally between Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, formerly known as Highland Rim, and Nashville Fairgrounds. He's been dipping his toes in pro lates and super lates, and in getting these ARCA starts has been exciting to see. Also, Zachary Tinkle, great finish for him in the top 5. Jackson McLaren, also one of a local around here in Middle Tennessee. He's one of the hosts of the Bubba's About Broke podcast, which is like a big local favorite here for the racing scene, dirt and asphalt. And he's also one that's like just been recently dipping his toes into the ARCA scene. So good to see him do that. And also Jeff McConey, you might recognize him from McConey's setup shop in the iRacing world. So he's been around this for a long time. So it's good to see him step into the real world and see some of that translate. And very emotional to get this first experience. So that really glad for Jeff McConey and his family there too.
Yeah, great runs for a lot of drivers. Hunter Wright in particular, I think a lot of people very impressed this weekend by that run. Becca Monopoly, I haven't been on the Women Motorsports show in a while. Great job by Joe, Isha, and Emily catching up this weekend. But, an 8th place finish for her after, having to withdraw from Talladega. Good way to bounce back. Not so great for Rita Goulet, unfortunately, and there'll be a last car article next day or two recapping what happened with her start with fast track racing. But good to see her out there persevering as well, nonetheless. And again, there's good stories all throughout this leaderboard here. It's just a matter of finding them and shouting them out. And appreciate you, Brandon, spotlighting some of your local drivers there from Tennessee as well. And again, it's tough to compete with a Cup Series level entry here in this series. And again, that's a conversation we've had many times before. Don't necessarily fault Gibbs for doing it. It is a good place for a driver like Max Reaves and the Williams Sawaliches and Sammy Smiths and Ty Gibbses of the world before him to learn the ropes of stock car racing. But it does make for a little bit of an anticlimactic viewing experience in terms of who's going to win the race. But again, that's not necessarily the fault of the driver there. So you got to give credit where it's due in that regard.
I also got to say for Becca Monopoly, if she were ever to make it to Cup and also run Xfinity and truck, it'd make one of the best headlines ever if she was able to sweep a weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Monopoly on
the
weekend there. That would be a nice play on words there for sure. All right. Well, similar story here on Indy NXT. And again, not going to comment too much on this weekend, because again, much like what we saw in ARCA East, not too much to say about the race winner. Very straightforward. Dennis Hauger, you want to talk about dominance. 2 races into the season, he has led every lap so far this year. So again, that's kind of a theme of the weekend, I guess, right? Kyle Larson's too good for the Xfinity Series. Corey Heim's too good for the Truck Series. The Gibbs 18 is too good for the ARCA Menards Series East. I think Dennis Hauger is too good for Indy Next. I think he should be on the IndyCar Series grid next year, and I'm fully confident in saying that only 2 races in to the Indy Next season. But Brandon, I'll let you comment here briefly. I think it was a welcome return for this series. We've been talking about the scheduling woes here, a 2-month break from St. Pete to now. Yeah. Barber being in May feels kind of weird, but it was good to see the Indy Next cars back out on track here in 2025.
It is, and it's good. Indy Next really, they're kind of like the Truck Series. They really light up during the summer months. That's when they're able to shine. ARCA too, and so this is when we really get to have our consecutive weekends of talking about these series that we love too. And also, I got to harp on Barber, man. It's such a beautiful facility. One of the world, highly underrated places in the world for racing. It just looks like Augusta, but it's got the sweeping corners and everything. And I think, name drop. It's pretty bad. Okay, I'll get back to it. I know it's early, but I'm afraid Dennis Hauger might be too good for Indy Next. F1 level talent, yes. And Alex, you can put Alex Pillow in that same category. You might need to venture over to Cadillac.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there might be an alternate timeline out there where what Oscar Piastri is doing, if he had ended up in the Alpine seat, and that's the only championship Pillow hasn't won since he got to Ganassi. It was 2022 when he was going, back and forth between Ganassi and McLaren, and they were fighting for his driving rights. I mean, who knows? Maybe he got in the car for an FP1 and they signed him in 2023, and maybe he's fighting for a world championship right now. You just never know how different timelines might have played out, but certainly has the talent, and I think Dennis Hauger showing that he has the talent as well. Kobe also saying here in a motorsport.com interview, Hauger said he turned down opportunities to stay in F2 and chose to go after an IndyCar future. If Cadillac F1 signs Herta, maybe Hauger goes to the number 26 Honda. Yeah, that would be a great opening for him. And I think, again, I don't know off the top of my head where Colton sits in super lessons points here. I know he finished second in the standings last year, so that's 30. You need 40, of course, so I would imagine he's got to be close, but I feel like he had a pair of 10th place finishes, so maybe he's only sitting on 32, 33 points here. But I think if they wanted it badly enough, I think that would, they'd have to work with another team, I guess, since they're not on the grid this year, but you could in theory just run him in 7 FP1 sessions, and that would get him to 40 points, right? I think you're allowed to do that up to 10 times if my memory serves me right. So, or you could just make all that irrelevant and just go get a solid top 5 in a championship this year and be eligible that way too. So again, it's only May. There's a lot of pieces still to fall into place here in the silly season puzzle, but Dennis Hauger is showing that he's got the talent, I think, to certainly be in the IndyCar series. Probably right now, if we're being honest. But we expect him, of course, to finish out this year and probably be pretty uncontested for a championship if he can keep this up. Again, he has not missed a single lap led this year. That's how dominant he's been.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it's pretty early too. I recovered from my brain fart though. I was thinking of Will Buxton. This was his first trip to Barber. Yes. And he put out a great tweet. Barber is incredible. It's like Brands Hatch, Mugello, and Spa had a beautiful American baby. Or as he would say, a beautiful American baby. Can't wait to see IndyCar on track. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. It's pretty close.
I have made no secret about my feelings of the current state of the series right now. I think there are a lot of things going on that need a lot of improvement and need that improvement fast. But credit to Will Buxton and the Fox booth. That, from what I understand, they were getting excited. I saw David Lamb put a video out just a couple hours before we went on the air. They were getting excited at every pass and every moment, trying to hype things up and do the best they can, even though the hybrid system has its limitations. But that video and that video that Buxton and Fox put out, calling it the Augusta of motorsport, I think is a very fitting nickname for the track, and to build a promo off of that nickname and try to highlight just how special this track is. I do agree, even though, again, the hybrid system does not lend to great racing, at least it hasn't so far. The track is very much underrated.
And also like a lot of
that spotlight.
Yeah. Also, I think like a lot of potential that's not yet realized for that facility too. I think A lot of people around, I think a lot of people even around here don't even know it exists or where it is. Like people are like, really? There's a world-class road course in Birmingham, Alabama? Like, yes, it's there. It's on the Buc-ee's exit. You can find it. It's in Leeds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, we'll keep our eye on Indy Next throughout the rest of the year here, and hopefully things start turning around for the IndyCar series. This is the month to do it, right? Maybe we get a banger Indy 500, and that makes us forget about some of the things that we're lamenting about the series right now. But or maybe the hybrid turns it into a 2018 race with the Universal Aero Kits first year, and it's tough to pass there. I don't know. We'll wait and see. We still have the Grand Prix to get through. Hope you didn't forget about that. And then we'll have 2 weeks track time to get ready for the 500. But on that note, Brandon, I don't know if you have your IMS cap on you right now, but
I was thinking about it, and I'm lamenting that I didn't bring it with me. Because
it's always a shining moment talking about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But if you had to pick a shining moment for this weekend, what would it be?
Well, yeah, last week I pulled out the Delta Force, and I see David also made a video about that too for his month of May coverage. So looking forward to seeing that at some point. But I think my one shining moment would have to be for my colleague Jacob Seelman. This was actually his first weekend, either like ever for IndyCar in the paddock or for IndyCar in quite some time. But he was there at Barber this weekend, and I just want to congratulate him for a job well done on coverage there through Indy Next and for the NTT IndyCar series. I think that was a big stepping stone, and glad to see him to be able to do that for Race Face Digital.
Yeah, that's a great moment for sure. And Brandon, I'm glad to see what you're working with him once again, and great for Jacob as well to have that moment also here. I got to admit, I was a little bit unprepared, didn't have a moment written down, so I'm just going to try to shout out some names here that finished here in the top 10 for the races that we covered here, and just give a bunch of people one shining moments. Again, I'll cheat a little bit, not be the one moment here, but Taylor Gray still knocking on the door of Victory Lane. I guess your winner in class for the Xfinity Series, so to speak. Obviously, having Larson in the field was going to be tough to beat this weekend, but good run for him. And again, somebody else that's knocking on the door, Ryan Sieg, racking up top 10s, some even top 5s sometimes. Still think that win is coming eventually, and what a celebration it'll be if and when that happens. But good to see him have another top 10 run as well. And Jeb Burton to bounce back after the disappointment of last week with another top 10. That's a run worth mentioning there. And over here on the Truck Series, again, I'm sure he's frustrated with coming up so close yet so far yet again. But for Daniel Hemrick, another runner-up finish, I think just another sign that McAnally Hilgeman team is firing on all cylinders, and is certainly a top team now in the Truck Series and a force to be reckoned with, and hopefully will stay that way for many years to come. But I'll give him a shout out, my shining moment segments as well. And that's going to do it for us here tonight on the Encore show. So thank you all so much for tuning in as always. And like I said at the start of the show, I want to give a special shout out to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for continuing to support what we do here at the Grid Network. And if you like what you saw tonight, you want to take a few minutes after the show to join them and consider supporting us through Patreon. You can find the link to that in the description box below, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution to us instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee profile page that we have, or if you're watching us on YouTube, we have a super chats and super thanks enabled as well. And as always, the best thing you can do for us is just follow us on all our social media platforms at Grid Network TV, X/Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, everywhere. We have that same handle at Grid Network TV. Very easy to find. You can also visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. Still a very fresh look and fresh relaunch from the last few weeks. So make sure you go check that out as well. Now, looking ahead at our upcoming schedule, Kobe will be on the air on Wednesday, as always, with Josh Birch and Matt White. Stay tuned for our continued new NASCAR pre-race schedule on Thursdays, and Women in Motorsports will hopefully be back this week as well. We had an abbreviated weekend for F1 Academy. Unfortunately, the weather in Miami prevented them from doing their second race, but still plenty to talk about from that weekend as well. And then, of course, Grid Live pre-race and wrap-up, and then the Encore show to follow, as always, in a week's time. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off from tonight's show?
Yeah, not too much to say other than it's the month of May and it's the slow building to the 109th Indianapolis 500, and we've got the Sanzio Grand Prix of Indy this weekend. If you can remember what it is, it's on Saturday though. Remember that, and then Kansas on Sunday, and those weekends sort of merging together. It's a fun month in motorsport, and just keep it tuned here. We're going to be talking all about it.
All right, we'll look forward to that as well. I just want to say, again, this is kind of a message from the heart here. You might have noticed it tonight. I'm a little bit down on energy here. I know I opened up a couple of months ago about, my mental health and, going up and down the peaks and valleys and everything. Again, not going to lie, it's been a rough couple of weeks for me, and just in conversations I've had with you, Brandon, and with some of our other team members, it's become clear that I'm trying to do too much. I'm letting myself be consumed by frustrations of things going on in this sport. And, it doesn't mean that I'm going to just pull over and stop fighting for what I believe in, or, giving my thoughts on what's going on here. But I also need to make sure that I remember that there is more to life than just the sport that we love so very much. And so I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break here for at least 1 week. Might turn into 2 weeks, might turn into 5 weeks, might just only be 1 week. We'll wait and see how I'm feeling here. But it sounds like, Brandon, you and I were talking before we went live tonight. You're up for coming on the air next week. And, we've had Joe host the show in the past before when I've been unavailable. Josh has done the same. Tanner's been on the show several times this year. Matthew Bro's been hoping to get back on the air a little bit more these days. And, of course, he's been doing a great job writing for us the last couple of years. But we'll figure out something for next week at the very least. And then hopefully I'll be back sooner rather than later. But I'm going to take some time off and practice what I preach a little bit, because I told you all take care of yourselves. And I haven't necessarily done such a great job of that in the last few weeks here. I was doing a lot better. My sister had a beautiful wedding, and that was great to be with my family. I'm going to be with my family again this weekend, because she did what I did. She graduated in December and is walking in May. So her commencement is coming up this weekend, and I want to be able to enjoy that weekend without worrying about races that I won't be able to watch live on the air as they're happening, and then get ready for a show in just 24, 48 hours after that. So I'm going to let you guys take control next week and spend some time taking care of myself, because I certainly need to hear. So I hope you all understand and appreciate you all continuing to support the show here in 2025. And like I said, Brandon, we're going to keep killing it the rest of the year one way or another, because it's a great time of year. We've got the Indianapolis 500 coming up, and I think that this could be something that turns a corner for that series, especially, for sure. Yeah,
and it takes a lot of humility to do what you're doing here, and I think it's the right idea. I'm glad you're doing it, and very wise people have always told me, take your breaks, take your rests, or they will take you if you don't take them. It's very critical.
Yeah, and again, if anybody thinks that I'm just doing this because I'm trying to get attention or anything, I'm not. I have genuinely been up and down the last couple of weeks here, and I want to be open and transparent with you all. And I also want you to hold me accountable, because there have been times where I've said I'm going to take the week off in our private chat, and then I'm like, you know what, I really need to come on and talk about this, and I end up not getting that break that I thought I was going to get. So I'm putting it out there on the air, on the record, so you all can hold me accountable as well. I will see you in at least 1 week's time. We'll see what that turns into here. Again,
I got the hammer ready to doink you back into your cave if you come back out.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see. I mean, again, I was telling you this, backstage as well, Brad. It might be a situation where if I find that I'm doing very well next week, I might actually extend it to the second week, because I want to make sure I spend more time getting right and getting better.
If you're feeling well, like, take that time to feel well,
rather than rushing back. So, and we'll see how next week's show goes as well here. It's going to be a little bit different format, with a different host and everything. But Brandon, I know you're killing it over, not just here, but what you're doing with writing with Jacob as well. And we've got a talented team here at Grid Network that I trust to be able to keep the ship afloat here for however long I need to take off. So again, thank you all so much. Thank you, Kobe, as well. Appreciate the words of support there. And we will see you. I won't see you. Brandon will see you. Somebody will see you next week here on the Encore show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And enjoy the rest of your week and take care of yourselves as well. We'll see you in a bit here.